And we are back with my friend, my client, and newest best-selling author, Alyssa Morton. Alyssa is a superstar. All right, she's had 5 businesses before 26 while having 2 kids under 2. I mean, this is what you call a super mama. Alyssa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jake. Thanks for helping bring it to life, honestly.
Of course, of course. And I know when we connected, you were working on your book and you were like, we got to bring this to life. And you were watching the project bestseller thing and I was just like, all right, let's do it. And you were like, yes, I'm in, I'm doing it. You knew you had the dream. So I want to start right here. Was writing a book always something you wanted to do, or was it something that you just felt you were called to do or that you felt you needed to do?
It wasn't something I always thought I was going to do. It was something that I was pulled to do within the last year, honestly. And it was like, I need to make this happen. And then I heard you on Chris Harder's podcast and doing your project bestseller. And I was like, oh, like this is my chance. Like, let's start this. And then I joined your journey and we did it in 3 months.
Yeah, yeah, and we're going to talk about the timeline, but I want to know this because something that I really respected about your decision making was you were like, I know I need to do this. I know I'm going to need to invest if I want to get it done the right way. Are you normally like that with decisions, or
Mhm.
what made you, or how do you feel so confident about making decisions that quickly?
From the get-go, and even like when I was starting my businesses, I knew that I wanted to do things the quickest way possible and that I didn't want to waste time figuring it out on my own. So I like immediately, like with my first business, I hired a marketing like strategist to help me figure out, like, get my marketing dialed in. And I hired like a sales coach to help me sell. So it was like $15,000 immediately, like when I started my first business. And we don't have money like to be spending that, but I'm like, this is something that's important to be able to scale my business. And I don't want to spend 6 years like figuring it out on my own, trial and error. Like, why wouldn't I want to just do it quickly and learn from somebody that's an expert? So with that same mindset, like when it came to writing the book, I had this pull that I wanted to write it, and divine intervention, my particular activating system was turned on and you came into my life, and I was like, this is exactly what I need. I can write the book myself, but I need help on the back end getting it dialed in so that I can become the bestseller that I want to be. And we made it happen.
Yeah, no, this is so cool. So I want to dig into this a little bit because your book is called Welcome to the Room, Mama, right? And it's all about helping mompreneurs, right? And people start their business and raise family at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I think for that audience specifically, but also just like the general audience, is how did you have the confidence to be able to make that first step of like, look, I know I just need to hire people off the bat, and that's going to help me speed up, while also knowing that you have a family that you're raising and that you have to take care of. How do you work through that mindset, and how do you talk about that in your book?
In my book, I mentioned all the mindsets that come up, like especially as a mompreneur, because mindset's the biggest piece to the puzzle when you're starting a business or doing anything really. Like, we constantly are self-sabotaging and hold ourselves back. But for me, like investing in writing the book or investing in hiring a coach or whatever it needs to do, I have this, like, I want to buy back my time. And that's really important to me, especially as a mom or a wife or a person. Like, I want to have more time to myself and less time trying to figure it out on my own. So that's really where it comes in, that I'd rather spend the money and invest in a coach or somebody that's going to help me get to the final outcome as quick as possible in the best possible way than trying to do it and spend a lot more time and a lot more money just trying to figure it out on my own.
So okay, so what would you say? I mean, you started your business and you were like, before you had even brought in any revenue, you made those investments. So what would you tell somebody, or what should somebody be thinking about if they're like, I want to do this. I know what the dream is. I know what's stopping me, but I don't have any money, or they're starting from a place where they feel restricted. What would you say to that person?
Baby steps. Like, first thing is you got to get some clients in. Like, you need to make sure that you're bringing money into your business. To be honest, like, my first business was wedding oriented, so I did have some money coming in and I just invested everything that I was bringing in into the business again. So I didn't take any money out of it, but I was continually booking clients, and then I was continually booking higher level clients, which is what I wanted the coach to do. So it was like I started with like $1,000 weddings or $2,000, like, for flowers. I'm a florist. and I wanted to do 10,000, I wanted to do 30,000, 50,000. Like I wanted to do more high level events. So that's where the coach really came in and making sure that I was communicating to those aligned clients. So I want you to, your audience, like if they're having that kind of trouble, like you need to figure out where your problems are. If it's sales, if it's marketing, if it's branding, like making sure that you're the whole package to be able to communicate with those clients that you want to have. And then hire the right people to be able to make it happen, or grow yourself to be able to be the person that you want to work with.
I love this. I love this. It's so clear to me that you know your shit, right? And that's what this book is all about. So real quick, for everyone that's listening, what is the book title? What is the book about? Give us a little bit of the inside scoop.
It is Welcome to the Room, Mama, and it's the Mompreneur's Guide to Getting Out of Your Head, Ditching the Mom Guilt, and Building a Successful Business. And every single chapter brings up a different limiting mindset that came up, like as I was building my first business. And like my personal story, like, and how I overcame those mindsets, and then actual tactical things that you can do to shift those mindsets and actually take action in your business and build the business. So I walk you through my 4 steps to actually make it happen. And I have a custom like workbook and everything for you to go with it so that you can actually take action and make it happen.
This is so cool. What are some of the limiting beliefs or some of the chapters that you can share with us? I know we're gonna have everyone go get the book after this, but what are some of the limiting beliefs that come up that you've seen that you experience as well, which is why they got put into the book?
The first one is that you don't have experience because you've never done something before. There's a lot of mindset barriers behind that. You stop yourself from taking action because you don't know like what you need to do. And really the mindset just needs to be that you're going to learn as you go and that it's not going to be perfect. So I talk about perfectionism. I talk about like fear of failure and like figuring out how to get experience. I talk about sales mindsets and how to like grow that. I talk about time management because that's a really big piece for moms and mompreneurs, is that like you have kids and you want to be able to make sure that you're spending enough time with them, and you feel guilty if you're not spending enough time or you're focusing on your business. So I talk about those pieces and different ways that you can maximize your time. I talk about actually like creating the vision and creating your business plans and your marketing plans. And then I actually help you bring it to life and take those first steps.
This is so good. This is so good, Alyssa. So look, you mentioned time management, okay? And I think time is one of those things that is applicable to every person, right? And I think moms definitely feel that a lot because they're raising kids, they're trying to build a business, like there's a lot going on, right? And I also think a lot of us have a lot of stuff going on, right? You can look at anybody at any point in time and they'll tell you, oh, how's this week? It's busy, right?
Yeah.
Busy is not always equal to productive, and we could go down that rabbit hole. But I want to know, what are some of the things that you've learned from experiencing it yourself related to time management that now you teach? Like, what are some of those practical things that you mentioned in the book?
Definitely leadership and delegation. Like, I think that that's a really important piece in the time management puzzle, because you can't do everything by yourself. Like, you can do anything you want, but you can't do everything. And depending on what your goals are, if you want to really scale your business or if you want more time for yourself, like you need to learn what you can delegate and what you can get rid of, remove off of your plate, because you need to be able to focus on certain things that are actually going to move the needle in your business or toward your goals, whatever those are. So I talk about time mismanagement a lot in the book, because as moms, we have a never-ending to-do list. And when you're working on things, like, I don't know about you, but like if I leave my phone on my desk, I'm grabbing for it and it's not even ringing. Like there's no notification going off. And then I'm sucked into TikTok, or I go on there and have the intention of creating reels or TikToks, and I create one and then another 45 minutes goes by and it's all gone. So I talk about that a lot, because when we have this like mindset in our head that we don't have time to work on our goals, it's really like there's a lot of time in the day. How are you using that time? So I break down exactly what my days used to look like and how you can restructure your days to make sure that you are spending time wisely. If you're spending 2 hours at night watching Netflix instead of using that 2 hours to write your book or start your podcast or grow your business, like you're just not using it correctly. We talk about different ways that you can actually like get work done if you have kids, like whether that's daycare or co-ops with like other parents or like nap time, like really just using time wisely and making sure that the time that you are using is undistracted time, because that's really what's going to move the needle.
When you think about this, Alyssa, you mentioned delegation and then you mentioned, time mismanagement. oftentimes when people think about delegation, if they're entrepreneurial, they think immediately of like work delegation,
Mm-hmm.
right? They think of VA, marketing, they think of various different things about delegating the work side of things to get back their time. But I also think there's like the home side of
Mm-hmm.
delegation. And I think that people like try to separate the work and like home life, but I think that that's like really important. So what are your opinions on delegating or outsourcing for both the home as well as the business?
I agree wholeheartedly. I talk about this all the time. I have like 100%. I need to hire a cleaning lady because I cannot keep up on the laundry for 5 people in our house, 4 people. I need a meal service plan because if I want to be eating correctly and healthy, like I can't be spending 4 hours a week shopping and then meal prepping. So like these are all things that I delegate like regularly in our home life to make sure that I'm sticking to the goals that I have and making sure that I'm following through on them. And in addition to the business piece. So it's like, you're right, they go hand in hand.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about that because like the 4 hour shopping, right? Let's just say somebody spends 4 hours shopping or 5 hours cooking, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
cooking, prepping, cleaning the dishes, etc. You're now, let's just say for the 5 hours of cooking, let's do some math here for everyone to see this like amazingness of money spent in delegation is like 5 hours. Let's say your hourly rate's $100 for simple math. That's $500 that you're basically saying that's what my time is worth, and I'm going to cook. But there's the
Mm-hmm.
negative connotation about outsourcing for the home versus outsourcing for the business, because that's just not the way we grew up, or that's not the way that we see it as a society. Well, the truth is, most of society is not entrepreneurial. So they are literally getting paid the same for the time that they work, and they're done working at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You have the capacity to have an unlimited amount of revenue as an entrepreneur based on the schedule that you want to create. And so it's redefining these norms that I think are really interesting. And I think that you do such a great job of this and kind of sharing it just now, but also talking about it in your book and the differences of you do have time, but where can you find it? And so I just want to give you a shout out there because I think you do a really good job of articulating that. And I think the way that you've structured your book allows people to be like, oh, yep, that's me. I get it. And now here's what I can do, because a lot of times we become aware of something, but then we don't know what to do after that awareness. And the way you've done it is you've really structured your book to say, hey, here's the awareness. Let's recognize it. And also here's what you can do now that you're aware of this belief or this challenge or everything. So great job on that throughout your book.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's some of the reviews we're getting is like we feel so seen, and I feel like I'm actually motivated to take action right now, even though it's 12:30 in the morning. Like you need to be able to feel that way. And like the big piece of the puzzle is really surrounding yourself with other people that are doing that. And that's really where the title came from, is Welcome to the Room, Mama. Like we want to make sure that you feel like you are welcome in the community that we're creating of these women that are just so empowered and creating the life that they want, even while doing it with kids. And it's having that example and learning from them and surrounding yourself with them that's really going to take it to the next level. Because if you're feeling like that kind of mindset piece that you feel guilty about outsourcing things personally, like in your house, it's because those are the people you're surrounding yourself with that are making you feel guilty and shameful for doing that, instead of the people that you're surrounding yourself with that are making you feel empowered to like, once you see other people doing it, you're like, holy shit, like, why haven't I been doing this my whole life? Like, why am I still folding laundry? Like, I hate laundry, it's like bookkeeping, like do the things that you want to be doing and outsource the rest.
Yeah, so good. What would you say? Okay, so when we're talking about this, like how do you schedule your day? What is your average day look like?
So in the morning, like my girls get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning every day and they crawl into bed with us. We get them to school by 7:30, and then my husband goes to work and I structure my day. I've got different days of the week or different things. So like Mondays are like my books and financial days. I do like strategy planning, like figure out my week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are all like client meetings, podcast interviews, stuff like that, like on Zoom. And then if there's openings, I'll work on like content creation and stuff like that. And then Fridays are my creative days, and I just get to think and create something new, whether that's like brainstorm a new book idea or my podcast or, whatever projects I want to bring to life.
Cool. I love how you delegate the different days for different activities. I found that to work really well for me. So like we do Mondays our team meetings and content days. And then we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, our coaching, PR, media, podcasting, etc. And then Friday is kind of like an open day where I get to just be present. I do a CEO meeting. I do a finance review. I do a weekly check-in. And it really helps us kind of just stay on pace and structure our days. But look, you have multiple businesses, you have two very, very young kids, and you added a book on top of that. Okay. Most people are like, oh, I run multiple businesses. I don't have time. Most people are, I have kids. I don't have time. You have multiple businesses and you have two very young kids that need your attention, right? How did you decide and how did you feel while creating your book, and where did you look to like find more time?
So my girls, like, I have no shame about putting them in daycare Monday through Friday. And I know some people have different feelings about that. But for me, I'd rather have quality time with them than a quantity of time that like makes me want to rip my hair out. So like I have them in daycare so that I have like a normal work day like anybody else. Like when they're working their 9 to 5, I have the same thing just in my businesses. And throughout the day, like the way that I structure it is like when I was writing my book, realistically, like for me to actually sit down and write my book, it took about a month. And that was only with realistically like 30 minutes a day. And I stopped writing when the flow stopped coming. And I was like, okay, it'll come back. And it did. Like every day, like I'd have more flow. And that's what it looked like, whether it was 30 minutes before bed or 30 minutes like the 8 to like 8:30 window in the morning, whatever it looked like. That was just dedicated writing time. And I stopped as soon as like the flow stopped coming. I'm like, if I'm going to have to force it, I don't want to. And it worked. Like that's how it came to life. And there were like 2 days that I like had the flow like all day and I let it happen, but I wasn't forcing it if it wasn't coming naturally. So that's how like the timepiece worked for that. And then actually like bringing it to life after the fact, it was like in my editor's hands, and she was able to make magic happen and give me more ideas about stuff to add. It was really cool like working with her because she also is a mompreneur and was in the stages of having a newborn, and she was actually like kind of like a beta reader and also my editor at the same time. So it worked really amazing to give me more feedback and stuff to include.
That's so cool. It's so cool to see you practice what you preach, right?
Yeah.
Or practice, in your case, practice what you write, right? Like it's really cool to see that. But you mentioned something that really fascinates me because it triggered something that my parents and I were talking about, which is the quality of time that you spend with your kids versus the quantity of time that you feel you're supposed to hang out with your kids, right? And me and my parents were just talking about this because we were talking about scaling and businesses and running businesses with kids. And my dad was like, you know, we used to go out, me and my dad and my brother, my mom would work late some nights during the week. And so me and my dad and my brother, we would go out to dinner. And we literally have this memory 20 something years later where every single week we'd go to this place called Hometown Buffet. And we'd go and we'd have an amazing dinner and all this stuff. And I was like, Dad, like, you know, why did we do this? Like, was it because we had a ton of money to do this, or what was it? And he goes, well, I wanted to spend more time with you guys. And if we would have gone home and I would have made dinner, you guys would have been doing something else while I'm doing dinner. Then we would have eaten real quick. Then you guys would have gone and done your other thing and I would have cleaned the dishes, right? Or they would have piled up.
Yeah.
He was like, I'd rather, I don't want to do that, you know, which is true, right? But then also he was like, I would rather us be able to spend 3 hours of time together. And that was meaningful. And so it's not only is it now a memory of me, my dad, and my brothers that we can always remember this, but it was a really cool way of understanding the difference between quantity of time around and quality of time spent. And so I just thank you for reiterating that point. Now, back to your book, okay? You're writing this book, you bang it out about a month, like you just dedicated time plus flow state time, boom. Then all of a sudden you're like, okay, we got to get this thing to the finale. We got to get this thing launched. What was the time frame of the process from that till launch?
The whole thing from start to finish was about 3 months. So we started in November and it was launched February 19th, like in people's hands, book launch party, everything. So about 30 days to actually write the book. It was in my editor's hands for probably like 3 weeks. And then the rest of the time was cover design. The cover design actually took the longest because I had no idea what I wanted in my head. I didn't have a vision of it until I saw it, and I was like, okay, this is it. And then the formatter like was working in tandem with the cover design.
And then you got the cover design done, and it was like amazing. And guys, if you haven't seen the cover design, guess what? Go to Amazon and buy the book. Welcome to the room, mama. But that's what it's all about. And so for you, what did you find was a surprise going through, you finished writing the book, you're starting to prep for the launch, you're going through all the pieces of the puzzle that we lay out for you. What was one of the biggest surprises that you found during the process?
It was fascinating to me that you can hire people to do like promotion. Like that was kind of the mind-blowing piece for me, was that you can hire like Fiverr, like the Bee Nights, and like the kitty one, I forget what it was called, but there was like a couple of them that you had listed out. And that kind of blew my mind that you can just like pay $5 to have people promote your book and you'd get hundreds of downloads from it. So that was probably the biggest piece.
Yeah, no, that it is amazing. And, I've remembered at every stage of my book journey, my first one, I didn't even understand what was going on. Right. And then I found these things and I'm like, oh, let's try all of them. And I was like, now I don't even know which one worked. Yeah. But now what you're referencing for the listeners who aren't fully, don't know what these paid promotions are, is there are people out there that have email lists, that have audiences of people, or that are willing to promote your book in different Facebook group, Reddit threads, etc., that all you have to do is pay it up front and they'll actually do that or distribute an email blast, and you're going directly to readers of the genre of book that you already have. And this is a really great way, and you use this to drive hundreds of downloads on that opening launch week, which skyrocketed your ranking to #1 amongst other launch strategies as well. And so it's a really cool thing to add to your launch, but it can be very confusing if you don't have the right people guiding you or the right things. And so, Alyssa, I'd love to know from you about your process. How, you came to work with us, and I mean, you were an incredible client to work with through this process, because you do everything you say you're going to do. You pay attention to the detail and you execute. For you, how much did having a very clear step-by-step process and knowing what to do and when to do it, how much did that impact your experience? Because you're a self-starter. Like, you could have figured it out on your own, but you chose not to. And so I'd love to know, like, how much did that help you as you went through?
It helped me completely, because it's overwhelming when you have all of these ideas and different things that you can be doing, and to have the straightforward step-by-step kind of roadmap to show you this is exactly what you need to do to become a bestseller. Like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. What are some of the wins? You launch your book. What are some of the wins that you've had so far? And I know it's fresh, but what are some of the early wins that you've been experiencing now that the book's out?
I've been getting on a lot of podcasts. I sent my book to, before like the actual launch happened, I had a summit to help build my email list, and it helped me build some network like connections, my room, quote unquote. And I sent them like all free copies of my book so that they could promote it to their audience, and we could talk about it. We could have them on the podcast and chat. Like, I'm getting more guests on my show. I'm going on other people's shows, working to develop some speaking engagements, stuff like that. Like, there's a lot happening that is all because of the book.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see that, because sometimes we think, okay, book, bestseller, then we get to use it. But you were using it, the fact that you had written the book, you use that to be part of the summit. You use that to network with people. You use that to gift your book to people. You use that to do your launch. And what's really cool about that is that has opened the door for opportunity. Mm-hmm. And these things this is the snowball effect. Right now, you're building up the snow, right? And you got the momentum kind of starting to roll down that hill. And very soon what's going to happen here is it's just going to go boom, 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 boom. And it just keeps going. And I think that that's just, a further testament to you putting in the work. But I think it's also a testament to show everyone who's listening, like, when you have a book, opportunities happen that maybe wouldn't have been presented to you had you not made the decision to create the book in the first place. And so for one of our final questions, I want to know, like, how have you evolved as a mompreneur since deciding to write a book and since launching your book?
It's built confidence in myself. Like, one of my more, let me say, my word of the year is follow through, because that's something that I've always had difficulty with. And I'm a quick start personality. So I jump quickly on a thing. I'll take inspired action to bring it to life. And then like, I'll get like 75% there and it dies off because I have a new idea and I jump to something else. So working with big Idea to Bestseller and having the coach to be able to bring it to life, like that gave me accountability so that I could actually follow through on it and bring it to life, become the bestseller, and build confidence in myself to be able to do it again and again, or take on new projects.
Amazing. Amazing. What would you say to somebody who is either writing their book right now or is thinking about writing their book? What would you say to that person to kind of encourage them in their journey?
I say to everybody, and I've been saying it all along, go hire Jake, go work with Jake so that you can bring it to life and just have the step-by-step roadmap. Because like, why would you want to have the frustration, the energy, everything going into it, like trying to figure it out on your own if you could just pay whatever it is to bring it to life? Like, no brainer, have it done in 3 months, 6 months, however long it takes for you to write it, and make it happen.
Cool. I love it. I love it. So the best question of the day, my favorite question to ask you is this: how do we go buy your book? Where do we find it? How do we support you? Give us the goods.
Get it on Amazon. The ebook is 99 cents. The paperback copy is $15.95. If you want signed copies, you could get them on my website. And I've got special packages that I put together also if you want to, get a little extra.
I love that. I love that. And how do we follow you online and stay connected with you?
My website is lyssmorton.com. That's lyssmorton.com. And Instagram is pretty much where I hang out. It's at lyss.morton.
Amazing. And we'll link it all up. And so I just want to take a second here to thank you for coming on the show. I mean, this is so awesome. It's so cool to have watched your journey and to have seen your growth, your confidence, your follow through, and ultimately getting the result that you believed you were capable of getting. You made the investment, you made the decision, you put in the work, and boom, now your book is opening up doors that are right in front of you. And you know what? Rooms are being created, as you would say. And so thank you for coming on the show, Alyssa. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Jake.
Cool. And so guys, look, if you enjoyed this show, I want you to make Alyssa's word your word. Follow through. Follow through. If you made it to this point in the show, follow through and go buy her book. It'll be a great decision, okay? Go buy her book, okay? Because your life will change. And if you really enjoyed it, take a picture. Let Alyssa know that you enjoyed this episode, okay? She's doing some amazing things. She found a way, and you can too. So with that said, I appreciate you all for listening to this show. This was another great episode, and I'll see you on the next one.